I've definitely learnt more patience because I'm a big planner. I like lists and I like project plans. That's my background in communications and in events, is project plans, things on time. And this has been a very big challenge because I can be quite bossy and I know what I want, and people just don't turn up, or things don't happen when they're supposed to, or things. So I found that I got to a point where, rather than getting irritated by it, I had to just become a little bit more laissez-faire and go with the flow a bit more, and to also just to enjoy that journey a bit. It's kind of fun, isn't it? Ultimately, to watch these changes happen, and you can become you can lose that element of it in this rush to get to the end. So, I love that whole transformation aspect, the before, during and after, and the visuals that go with that.
Welcome to Journeys Through Change, a podcast that inspires women to let go of the fear and say yes to possibility. I'm your host, Noelle Van, an author, creator, and empowerment coach who spent years in corporate America helping innovators and leaders ride the waves of change with ease and grace. I now work with women to step into change and unleash the power they have to create a life they love. Whether you're contemplating a change in your career, relationship, health, lifestyle, or anything in between, nothing's off the table. I'll be offering up simple insights to help you manage the ups and downs of change, and sharing interviews with successful women who took a leap of faith to create the life they knew they were meant to live, sharing their wisdom, advice, and all the juicy lessons they learned along the way. So get cozy in your favorite comfy chair and let's get started. Have you ever had a dream that took on a life of its own? Coming into view little by little until one day you turn around and realize you're smack dab in the middle of it, amazed by its unfolding. Alethea Clarke was living in The Hague, Netherlands, shaking off her post-pandemic blues when she decided the time was ripe to follow her heart. And before she knew it, she was moving to the French countryside, transforming a 1730s property into a beautiful home and business. As a seasoned communications professional, writer, serial organizer, and events pro, Alethea is known for bringing bold ideas to life with ease and precision, and is now flipping the script to build something entirely her own. With an international background and a habit of throwing everything up in the air to start afresh, she is still no stranger to the highs and lows that come with stepping into the unknown and facing all of the challenges that go along with it. She finds peace amid the chaos of home renovation in the moments she can sit back and relish in what she's creating, a magical space for friends, family, and clients to gather, take in the breathtaking views, and find their own form of inspiration. Alethea, it is so wonderful to have you here with us. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Noelle. That's such a lovely introduction. Thank you.
Well, of
really
course.
Nice.
It's all your story, right? This is your story.
Kind of, but you make it sound really good. Thank you.
Well, good. Come to me anytime. So, Alethea, first of all, I always let my guests kind of start where they want to. And I thought the only thing I wanted to ask, because I'm more curious than anything myself, is where you got started. I know that you have a background. There's lots of different layers to your background. So just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we can kind of dive in.
Sure. I won't go all the way back because that will be very dull for everybody. But I guess in the context of this, I'm in my early 50s. I have grown up in a few different places. I am half British and half Zimbabwean, although my father would call it Rhodesian. But I grew up in South Africa, the UK, lived in the Netherlands most recently for 11 years. And I moved to France almost 2 years ago now. So that's my kind of background. My family's very international. They live all over the place. We're very lucky. We get to travel a lot to see each other. And yeah, so I think that's probably the best starting point.
Yes. Okay. So you and I started to connect. We were in a writing group and we connected during the pandemic, which of course many people probably have this type of story. But I think the kernel of this whole transformation or this whole switchover move idea had come up when we were talking, but it sounds like you had this way back when, right? Is this something that you had thought about?
Yes and no. I mean, certainly the course we did together during the pandemic, I'm not exaggerating to say that was one of the things that got me through it.
Oh,
no, it was amazing. But, and also meeting you guys. So yeah, but, no, I had, prior to moving to the Netherlands, I wasn't sure where I was going to go. And I went and lived only for a short time, 6 months in southwest France, not far from Toulouse. And it was at that point that I really, really kind of fell in love with that concept of rural French life and the architecture. And, there's an element of it that, these beautiful properties. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but, the property porn aspect of it, they're so beautiful and you can renovate. No, it's that. That's when I started really looking, I guess, about 12 years ago. But it was predominantly online. And then I was busy and in the Netherlands and working and, making a life there and all the rest of it. So it sort of was just in the background. But prior to that, it certainly hadn't been a bug in my life the entire time, travel-wise. So, yeah, that's kind of where it started.
Did you always love the south of France? Was that a particular place that you had always loved to visit? Or was this something, like you said, that just sort of grew as sort of wow, this would be really interesting and what a wonderful kind of new way of life?
Yeah, I think it grew, to be honest. I think actually there was a period of time where I hadn't set foot in France for about maybe 15 years. Because in my 20s, I worked at Fondation Claude, volunteered at Fondation Claude Monet in Giverny. I worked for L'Oreal, so my business French was okay. My French used to be okay. And then there was this 15-year gap where I traveled a lot, but not really so much in Europe, more in Southern Africa, Asia, Australia. I came back to France, if that makes sense, getting a bit older.
We were talking at one point, and I think at one point we were just having one of our group calls, and you said that you had found a property. So, how did that all transpire?
That was actually before I found this property. I think at that point I was still very much online in the online world, and I had become obsessed with a specific property. Well, in the Netherlands, we were locked down. I was on my own, and my family lived, like I said, all over the world, and I couldn't see anyone. I just happened to have gone through a divorce, which wasn't that much fun. And so the day that they opened the borders between Netherlands, Belgium and France, I got all the little pieces of paper ready. I packed up the car, I put the puppy in it. And when they reopened those borders, which they'd re-implemented in Schengen in the pandemic, we left the house at 4 a.m. in the morning, drove with all this paperwork. And I remember getting over the border, into France. And there's this bit where you come over the hill and you got Lille below. And I literally had to pull off the freeway and just stop the car. And I burst into tears in such relief just to get out. It was that kind of thing. But, everyone had a horrible time. And mine wasn't as bad as most people's. So,
So that was your first day of taking a look at what was.
Then luckily I could work remotely. So I rented a little cottage down in the Tarn, not far from Toulouse, for a month. And while I was there, I thought, well, this is the perfect opportunity. Let's go and have a look at some houses. And honestly, I don't really know what I was thinking. I think it was a major distraction tactic for everything else that was going on in my life. So I started going and looking, and I met this lovely agent, and she took me around effectively kind of a longère, a sort of petit chateau kind of place. And I knew within 5 minutes that wasn't my house. And so I just said, I'm really sorry, thank you, but not mine. And she took a good chunk of time to listen to what I was wanting and looking for. And 2 days later, she called and said, no, you've got to come and see this property. And I was a bit like, nah, no, don't want to. Too far north, wrong colour, it's too brown, I don't like the architecture. She had to really persuade me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know, and then I did go and visit it. And as I followed her car and we came around the corner of the hill and I saw the property, I was like, different feeling. And I remember walking in the door, and we were all still wearing face masks at that time, even in rural France. And I remember being very happy that I had the face mask on because I could not stop grinning. I absolutely, I knew it was like a thunderbolt. I knew that this was my house. And that was from stepping inside the front door. It was an extraordinary feeling, actually. It was a real gut feeling. And it just got stronger as I went round.
Have you ever heard that saying? And I think I've had this said to me several times, but as I've looked at different places, but that your house finds you?
100%. I believe that. I think you've always got to have a feeling. In France, they call it coup de cœur. It's like, love at first sight, isn't it? And it's everything I wasn't looking for. It was just not the right style, not the right, but actually it was everything I was looking for. It's funny how that can happen, I think.
Yes. Yes. Well, and isn't that like what life is all about?
Yeah.
We always think we want something and then we realize, oh, wait.
Yeah, exactly. And I think houses particularly are like that. I think you have to be quite sanguine about it too. You find them, they find you.
Did you have like the big vision of what you wanted to do with it? Or did that happen as you stepped in, as you started walking around? Like, I know that you have plans for when everything is completed, and that's like your vision for your business, your life.
Yeah.
Did that sort of evolve, or was that something that that came to you right away?
I was quite clear on that before I bought the property. I knew very much that I wanted to do these creative ateliers. That's the long game, as it were. Well, that's the goal. And along the way, there are a few different iterations. We're going to have some vacation rentals, location shoots. There's a lot of things as we build up to that. But I was very clear that I wanted to create a place that was a sort of retreat, respite for not only family and friends, but also really interesting people. If I was going to live in the middle of nowhere, I wanted a way to have, some international kind of input. So that was my idea. And obviously the creative side of things, the artistic side, whatever that may be. Yeah. So no, I was very clear on that.
How long have you been at the property now?
I bought it in September 21. And
oh, wow. Okay.
I was then living a half and half life between The Hague and here, because I was resident and living in the Netherlands, and coming here as often as I could. And then I moved here properly almost 2 years ago, full time.
And I know that you have had many a family and friend come in and see. What has been people's reactions, or what are some highlights of people's reactions when they first see it?
Well, I mean, that's one of the main reasons I bought the property, not only to make a more balanced life for myself with, having a home and a business and a nice balanced work home life, but, I love my family and friends, and to have a place where you can have everyone together and it's easy. And well, okay, people have to travel, but people have to travel to get anywhere. Unfortunately, we don't live in the same village. So, it's always going to be an element of travel. And it's a big enough space that people can have their own space. They can go and be comfortable. And no, I've been very, very fortunate. Most of my family and friends have all been here, and I think they like it. They've come back.
Sure. Yeah, they've come back. Well, and I'm sure they're super supportive of what you're doing.
Oh, they've been incredible. No, I'm very, very lucky. Yeah, they've been amazing. I have friends who turn up with, toolboxes in their cars,
Those are the friends you want to keep.
Absolutely. Yeah, they can come again.
When you stepped foot on there, and I know you kind of were half and half, so you were probably starting things before you then were there full time. But let's just say once you're there full time and got started in earnest, what was the game plan? Was it like, okay, I'm going to start over here? Or how does one tackle that kind of project?
In a way, the half and half life, I had this kind of, I had a year and a half really of planning it out. And I knew that it wasn't going to be something, it's not a one-hit job done kind of project. It's probably a lifetime project, I think. At the same time, I'm quite impatient and I like to get things done. So, I started renovation almost immediately. Within 2 months of buying it, we renovated the team renovated the petite maison. So that was done straight away within the first couple of months. And obviously there were other bits and bobs during that time when I wasn't always here, but it's quite hard to do something like that when you're not there, I think. So the first the main body of renovation, which is the main property, started September 23, and we'd just come out of 18 months of constant renovation.
Wow. Okay. So if you, just to listeners, what does the property look like? What is the acreage? What is how many buildings kind of thing?
Okay, yeah. It's an old Perigordian farmhouse, which is it's kind of very traditional. You'd have to look at the Instagram or something, I think, to describe that. Very pretty, old stone and everything. Dates from 1730. And the main house is fairly substantial, but it's, I think, also the surrounding properties. It has a small house attached, which, is a vacation rental. And then we have this Grand Grange, a very big barn, which eventually will get renovated as well. And that's where the ateliers will be held. Then there's another small grange opposite, which is really cute. And that's going to be made into a little cottage. What else do we have? Then we have obviously the pool house, the pool bit. There's a couple of meadows, some woods. I think it's about 3.5 hectares altogether.
What is that in acreage? Is that
I think it's 2 and a bit acres per hectare. I'm rubbish at that. I don't know.
Just it's big. It's big.
Maybe 9 acres-ish, I think.
Well, just looking on your Instagram, because I'm a big fan and follower of that.
Thank you.
It is so wonderful to see how it's grown and changed. But I mean, the scenery around you alone is breathtaking. It really, really is. Like, I can imagine you taking a look at this as you walk in and being like, wow.
Oh, absolutely. And, on dog walks every day, I talk to the dog. And it's like, wow, we're so lucky to live here. Look how beautiful. And the changing of the seasons, you're so much closer to it here in the countryside. And it's really a stunning part of the world. And it's very kind of, it's just gentle rolling hills, beautiful. It's just lovely. It's very, very pretty.
So you say 18 months.
Feels like 18
renovation.
Years. But yeah.
It's not been that long. So 18 months, what have you done in the past 18 months, like in terms of what's been tackled, what's left to do?
Well, firstly, I haven't done it myself. Let's be very clear about that. I am not a brilliant...
You have a village?
Yeah, very much so. And actually, no, I mean, I'm full of admiration for anyone who can do like an auto renovation where they, learn the skills from YouTube. I know my strengths, and mine lie very firmly in the decor category. I can't. I tried tiling once and it was a disaster, so not worth it for me. But no, I mean, it really takes a huge team. And funnily enough, I was kind of doing some stats. I was just doing a bit of stats on it for the newsletter. And I was thinking, it's a lot of people. And I went through the list. It's actually 102 artisans who have worked on this project so far, which is ridiculous.
Well, and I could have guessed it because I know you'd post and say, you're waiting for such and such, the stone cutter, and I'd be like, wow, this is kind of like a little village where everybody has a very specific skill set.
Yeah.
And they're all very, it's not like you hire a development team and they all come in and do everything.
No.
Which is what makes it so special, I feel like. Everybody's
I think there are definite benefits to it, huge benefits to it. But it's very different to any other. This is my 5th renovation. It's by far the biggest one I've done. And it's my first one in France. Others were in Netherlands and the UK. So previously, I've always worked with a building company, which is an umbrella and has all the trades within it. And in France, it doesn't really work like that. There are a few entreprises that have that kind of setup, but it's much more an artisan thing, which is small businesses where people are really specialized in different elements. And that's great because you tend to find a very high level of work, high quality. But the project planning aspect of it, where you've got to slot everyone in and X has got to do this before X can do that, and then X has to come back before Y does this, it's quite difficult. And you need a maitre d' person to manage it. You need like a project manager because it's quite a mission. So yeah, it's a very different way of doing things. And that's one of the reasons that number of 102 is, why it's so high, because lots of small 1 or 2 people teams. And I think the other reason it's so high is at the very beginning, unfortunately, I took some bad advice, and it's my own fault. I took it. I hired the wrong person. The first maitre d' was really bad, and they in turn hired a few artisans, and so I lost I lost a chunk of money and a chunk of time. So I think that added to that number and everything. But and possibly according to depends what you're wanting as well. I wanted things like pipes in walls as opposed to pipes on walls. And that takes more time. So yeah. You were asking for the world, I'm sure. I mean, pipes and walls is pretty standard. Not here, no,
right?
Not in France. Apparently, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, so we were having a new heating system put in, and the pipes were, the water pipes, because it's a heat pump system, were gone. And I was like, well, why? They've got to be in the wall. No, we don't do it like that in France. I said, this is my house. We do it like that here. So there was a bit of a... But it
That's
isn't
amazing.
common.
I never knew that. I did not realize that. So if you're not looking for the industrial look.
Yeah. So,
Well, and you mentioned that decor is more of your up your alley, which I would absolutely not only agree, but I feel like not agree because I'm sure you could probably do the renovation too. But I'm saying I have
no, I
seen your
definitely
design work. I have just seen your design work, and just telling everybody here that's listening that it's amazing to go on Instagram, take a look at for not only kind of the transformation because she does some incredible footage of how she's gone through this renovation, but also seeing the final product, which I have fallen in love with, especially your shower. And I believe some of the tiles in your kitchen that are just so different and so compelling and beautiful and all of those things. So, because I want to talk about your newsletter, because that really helps to bring a lot of this all together. It's kind of the renovation side of things. It's also how you scout out and find these incredible artifacts and pieces for your home. So talk a little bit about, first of all, maybe how you got into that, because I don't know if this is just something you just fell into or if you've been doing this for a long time, but you certainly have an eye.
oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you. I just like doing it. I'm very much, I like to decorate for myself and rather than for, I find the beige, greyish kind of thing a bit anathema. So I'm quite into colour. I like all the different, colour and pattern and texture all the way for me. And yeah, even though this is very much also a business and everything, but I think it's okay to inject some personality into your decor and also, quite frankly, to have a little bit of fun. And I think, it's kind of fun to do. I do have one room in the house which is termed the folly, which sounds very grand. It's actually the guest loo, the downstairs loo, but it became kind of a sort of lightning rod of ridiculousness during the renovation when the pink loo arrived and the green sink arrived and the artisans were a bit like, really? But yeah, you got to have some fun. And that room's just a little surprise. You open these double doors and then you get hit by this kind of ridiculous room. And I like that. So
I love that. Are you finding inspiration as you are renovating different buildings? Like I know that you are going to have the barn is going to be spectacular. I know this without
it's going to be so
seeing
amazing.
any
I know
pictures
exactly
yet.
what that's going to look like. And I've been doing this for years. Well, ever since I got the property, I've been collecting these giant letters. So I know that I'm going to have Les Plonges along the back wall in all this mismatched letters and stuff like that, silly things like that. But no, I do. I get an idea in my head and I like to have a bit of, I've got quite a lot of Zimbabwean bingo baskets and stuff from there, which make me feel happy. And, I'm very into the pattern tiles and pattern textiles and, random brocante objects. And my view is it's a bit of contemporary mixed with rustic and within the bounds of such an ancient property. I like the mix of old and modern.
Yes,
I think it
that's
works quite
what's
well.
so intriguing to me about it because you see the outside and you see all of just the history that must be in that. Now, do you know any bit of the history, by the way?
I know snippets of it. The lady I bought it from, she did a massive renovation, which was amazing 36 years ago. So she and it was an old prune farm in this area. So there's still some of those trees around. My neighbour Jean-Jacques, he always tells me little tales. He's like, there wasn't a road here, and this used to be, there's a big for a pan, what's it called, bread oven, and he'd be telling me about then all the cattle would be down there, and the bread oven was here. He knows all the history. So actually, I do need to go and sit down and properly go through it with him. But it was his family's house at one point.
Oh,
so yeah,
wow.
I've got some old pictures and things, but I need to find out more.
And the more that you know about it too, the more history that you'll be able to share with people when they come, right? That's so amazing. Now, what is your timeline on this? Or is there one?
No, there's obviously there's a timeline. There's a lot of lists. Noelle, you know me. No, very much timeline. It's very much a phased project. You can't do this in one go, although I've tried to really push as much as I can. And I think, who knows? Like I said, it's a lifetime project, but probably, certainly next year. Well, already the vacation rentals are up and running, but
nice.
We can do some location shoots. I'd like to start the ateliers from next summer, and then as I get to the point of renovating the big barn, they will get bigger and better and all the rest of it. So ultimately then we'll have 9 kind of ensuite bedrooms across the property for people to come and stay. So it's kind of like you come, you're in situ, you have your expert, be they health and nutrition or, anything, or artistic. And then you have you're on the property and everything's taken care of, and, so, and everyone's comfortable and has their own space as well. That's the plan. So I don't know. I think maybe certainly another couple of years until it's sort of all done.
Fully
yeah.
functioning. Is there would you have catering on the property, that kind of thing? So like people can come and have that, right? So it could be like a retreat type of.
Yeah. We'll arrange that. They just need to get to Toulouse or Bergerac or wherever. We'll pick them up, and then that's it, done. And then have, they'd be taken off to see XYZ, whatever they want. We'll go out for dinners, but meanwhile, during the day, they'll have a great artist teaching them this, that, and the other, or it could be a creative writing workshop, or I've got a great friend who does brilliant. He's does incredible nutrition stuff and functional medicine, stuff like that. Nice. And I think we'll just mix and match.
And then pool time too.
Yeah, exactly. And pool time and, yeah, exactly.
Tell us a little bit more about the newsletter. I know that you are combining a whole bunch of different things together that I think people will find amazing, especially if they're interested in the renovation side, but also just give us a little bit more about what that entails.
Yeah, I think, ultimately, it would have been great if I could have had the capacity to do the newsletter during the renovation, but that was just absolutely impossible because it was hard enough as it is. So I've still got all the stories from it. So the newsletter is called Adventures and Ateliers. So it's like coming along for the ride. It's following, in inverted commas, one woman's journey as she sets up her new life in France, yada, yada. And so I split it out into things like little snapshots, which could be the renovation or the moment you find. So that's the story of the house, and then what's going on at the moment. And then we talk about the sourcing of things, which is kind of a big thing I like to do. Yeah, and share little bits of, have some feedback and all the rest of it. I'm really enjoying writing it. I'm only on edition 8 at the moment, so it's kind of fun. It's evolving. I think it's getting some traction now. So yeah, it's fun to do, and I hope people like it.
I love it. And it's definitely for anyone who is interested or looking to do something similar, or just loves south of France or anywhere in Europe, quite frankly, because it's such a glimpse into history and the beauty of the landscape. I just love seeing all of your posts. And it's like I can marry everything together now because now I'm getting some of the backstories, which is so fun.
It's fun to have a medium in which to share some of the more comedy moments because I just, the ridiculousness of these things, I think it's fun, that the dog, she was quite funny with all the artisans in the morning, having their coffee and their croissant or whatever. And Romy became like this swooping. She did a sort of new hiring kind of seagull swoop where she'd just jump up and just take the croissant, and the new ones would be like, oh! So she was quite naughty with that.
Well, it's her place. It's her space, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we are talking a lot about the ups and the fun part of it, but share with us a little bit. I mean, were there moments? I mean, this is a big project, right? So have you had any moment you can share where you were able to kind of regalvanize yourself and get back in the game? if you ever were feeling that way, maybe you weren't.
No, it was smooth sailing all the way. No, absolutely. No, not at all. I think anyone who's done any renovation, whether it's literally a hallway cupboard through to a big thing, will know that feeling. By the nature of it, there are ups and downs. And with something on this scale, which is, I sometimes look at these people who are doing these incredible, huge, like chateaus and things, and I just think, oh, how can they do that? I'm full of admiration for that, but this was big enough for me. And no, definitely. The highs are for me on a daily basis. I love even that destruction point because something's happening and seeing the progress, and it's so exciting. You're like, oh, I can visualize it now, and that's where that's going to be. And then the next day you speak to one of the artisans, they're like, nope, you can't do that. And you're like, oh, it's like that. Yes. But I don't know. There are the big downsides, obviously, in a property this age, lurking under every floorboard, in every wall, there is some surprise or problem. We found a lot of those, and that obviously can change your plans, but also it really ramps up your budget. That's horrific. That side of it has been terrifying. And also the time, I started this renovation thinking it was going to be 8, 9 months, 18 months later. And I was very fortunate. I could stay in the petite maison. So I was on site. But, I had all my work in there. I had the dogs. It wasn't as comfortable as, it was quite jam-packed. Plus there was building noise going on, and it was quite tough actually at times. But I think, I'm trying to think some of the lows, it's tiring, isn't it? Living on a building site for that long. And also at one point, I do remember really clearly walking onto the first floor and I'm looking up, and I could see the roof tiles through the other floor from what was the main bathroom. And I just thought, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? This is just, I've basically ruined this house. And, there's those panicky moments.
But you did say that you take your evening walks with Romy. I think you had mentioned that in your newsletter, which I love, because I thought, I bet those are the moments where you kind of look at it and go, wow. I mean, like you said, that's when you really feel grateful for what you've stepped into, right?
Yeah, every day I'm amazed by how beautiful this whole place is. And that is one of the big things that gets you through, plus also keeping your eye on that vision at the end. I think the other part of it is it can be quite overwhelming to do it on your own, right? So, I say on your own, on my own, as opposed to as part of a family or with a partner. Obviously, there's the team who've been amazing. But at the end of the day, I've got to make all those little decisions. And there are lots every day. And it's quite a lot. And there's no one really to download and talk to. Oh, my God, look at this. What do you think of that? My family and friends have been amazing. I mean, the amount of FaceTime tours they've had to do and help with decisions on this, that, and the other, they've been great. But it is hard. And I think doing it on your own as a woman adds another layer of difficulty, certainly in quite a old school, patriarchal, rural, and also in the construction trade, right? Because, within that 102 artisans, we had 8 women over that period, which I think is actually quite high, really. For example, Betty, she's amazing. She's a young woman, and she does all the ironwork. So she does, and she's a what do they call it? Forger? No, not forger.
I don't know.
I can't remember. Blacksmith.
Oh,
so so she does. I mean, she's incredible. But it's very much a man's world, and I think sometimes on your own, and as a woman, and as a foreigner, there can be challenges within that.
Now, what would you say? Because speaking of which, so you are not a French citizen, right?
No.
Are you there on a work visa? Or are you there on some kind of a visitor's?
Yeah. No, okay. I'm here under the kindness of the French government. Yes, and I have a visa to be here, and I have my work, and I have a business separate to this.
If there's anybody that's looking to do this type of thing, like what would your advice be to, and this might not be in France, maybe it's in Italy or somewhere else, but let's say somebody were saying, I've always wanted to do that. What would be the piece of advice that you would give them just to get started?
Well, I think do your research, number one, on the legalities and the visa side of stuff. But there's always a way to do that, right? And if you find it too complicated, get someone to help you, would be my advice. Mm-hmm. But other than that, I'm a big believer in if you possibly can, you should try and take the leap. It's better to do it rather than wish you'd always done it, right?
Absolutely. It's worth it. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the language. Like, was there a language barrier? I know you spoke French, but to what degree was that?
Not brilliantly. I mean, I used to speak passable French, and I have to say that I speak a mélange of tal. So I basically, it's a very messy mixture of French, Dutch, and English, I think.
Ah, okay.
And now it's getting better. It's becoming much more French, but basically in every conversation, it's a 3-for-1. I kind of inflict my terrible Dutch, my terrible French, and my frankly declining English on the other person. But no, I mean, the French is obviously becoming stronger, and I'm lucky I had a good baseline in French. But, obviously when I went to the Netherlands, I started learning Dutch as an adult. And I think when you're learning a language as an adult, it's much hard. It's just different. It's your brain, the plasticity is not as strong. And what happened when I did that is it cannibalized my French, which is why I end up with these weird Dutch words dropping into French sentences. But it's fine. I kind of, because in the Netherlands, in The Hague particularly, it's the international city of everything, peace, justice, international court. It's a very international place. And the Dutch are incredible linguists. Most Dutch people speak 3-4 languages fluently, if not more. So it's very easy to kind of get by with a smattering of Dutch and then some English. Here, most French people, particularly in the countryside, do not speak English. You might find that people around these parts will speak some Spanish because it's the Occitanie region, and some of the local accent is quite Catalan as well. Mm-hmm. But I mean, my Spanish, I know about 4 words, and that accent's very difficult for me. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, but I think that the language thing is something not to be afraid of, because I think as long as you try, and it gets better, right? You learn, my building vocabulary is brilliant.
Oh, I bet. You can say, can you please move that pipe?
Yeah.
Like nobody else.
Yeah, exactly. I know all sorts of strange words. So, I think but also I think I just prattle away and people seem to understand me. I think my grammar's appalling, my accent's terrible, but I do get by. I can't say that I'm brilliant, but,
right.
And I like it. I like speaking, it's interesting, isn't it?
Right. I was going to say, it's all about attitude, right? As long as you have a good attitude about it, people will listen.
Yeah. And if not, you just kind of go, well, it's a word that sounds like, the thing is a bit like this, and you find a way to say it.
Right.
So that's one thing. And the other thing I was going to mention was community.
Yes. Tell me about that.
Yes. Say, how do you meet friends?
Yeah.
I think it's really important when you live in a new country to make friends with people from that country. So here, French as well as other immigrants. I really detest the word expat, just by the way. I think we're all immigrants if we're in a different country, blah. But I think that's quite important. But I have become a little bit of a local joke, I think, because I take the dog for walks, and if I see someone sort of, regularly, and I think, well, they must live around here, and you engage them in conversation, and then next thing I know, I've invited them for dinner. So, it's kind of... Yes. Bit hit or miss, but that's good.
That's good.
Make friends.
First of all, do you feel like the community? It's pretty small, right? I mean, how many people live within your radius?
I think it's 302 in the commune.
Oh wow, okay.
It's tiny.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's the village,
right?
That's in the area. No, it's very, very rural, and the comedy thing is, I think they all know probably exactly who I am, know my name, probably know my entire life's history. I don't, I'm still getting to know who XYZ is.
Right.
So,
well, maybe you're the new woman over there that just moved in.
Definitely, I'll be the new woman and until for however many years.
Yes.
Definitely.
I love that.
The families here have been, you see the same names all the time, and that people have lived here for generations. So I'm stepping into a very established place. But I have to say, I've been so lucky here. It's such a warm, friendly community. And we've actually got, for a tiny place, we have a brilliant Mary, the mayor, which is great, really important, especially in French life. And we have a restaurant, brilliant restaurant in the village. That's also great.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, is there like a local cafe, local place that you can hang out and meet people? Yeah,
there's that. And they have lots of little community things. There's a salle de fête, and there's lots of clubs going on, and local businesses, and, little fêtes, fête de printemps, stuff like that. So, yeah, I think it's quite important to be part of that community as much as you can.
When you were at the moment that you decided, I'm going to buy this property, if you were to talk to yourself back then, right now, what would you say?
I would be like, are you sure? Are you really sure? Are you absolutely sure? I'd have been like, yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Actually, in retrospect, there have been times when it's been totally overwhelming, but I think overall I'm glad I've done it, and rather am still doing it because it's not finished. But yeah, I think that.
Knowing that you have gone through this process, right? It's been 4 years. On a personal level, what has this helped you with? I can't imagine, when I think of what you've accomplished, right? I look at you and say, wow, this is an accomplishment. And this is something that I would be extremely proud of myself, getting through something like this, because it's a lot. I mean, it is just a lot. So do you feel like there's been any internal shifts that are worth mentioning?
I've definitely learnt more patience, because I'm a big planner. I like lists and I like project plans. That's my background in communications and in events, is project plans, things on time. And this has been a very big challenge, because I can be quite bossy and I know what I want, and people just don't turn up, or things don't happen when they're supposed to, or things. So I found that I got to a point where rather than getting irritated by it, I had to just become a little bit more laissez-faire and go with the flow a bit more. I'd say I manage that occasionally, but it's not in my nature to do that, but I am really trying to learn. And I think that's something I have learnt to do, and to also just to enjoy that journey a bit. It's kind of fun, isn't it? Ultimately, to watch these changes happen, and you can become you can lose that element of it in this rush to get to the end. So, I love that whole transformation aspect, the before, during and after, and the visuals that go with that. But it's clear as anything in my brain. I know exactly. And I've always found that quite fascinating.
And it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful that you can see it unfolding in front of your eyes.
Yeah.
And I think the backdrop of this is that you're also within this space that is calming. You're in this beautiful, you're like in a vacation spot, right?
Yeah.
When you think about that. And so you can always turn to your right and realize that all of this is going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're very lucky to live here. And the Dordogne is one of the most beautiful regions in France. And, it's the land of 1,001 chateaux, I think they call it. So, it's stunning. And around every corner, there's a beautiful medieval village. Sarlat is I think I'm right in saying it has it's the most densely medieval village in all of France. So, and that's got, quite some stiff competition if you think about it.
Yes.
It's a very, very pretty part of the world, and we're very, very lucky to be living here, I think.
How do you get there?
Oh, so if you fly, you come in Toulouse, which is an hour and 50, or Bergerac. Okay. But if you're coming from the States, it would be Toulouse or Paris, and then you can get the train. The trains in France are brilliant. Okay. Round to these parts, you do really need a car or someone to take you around, basically.
What is next for you?
Well, unpacking would be a good start, because I still haven't unpacked properly. The main house is nearly done, and I think that the next step, there'll be a pause for the time being, but the next step will be for the pool and the small grange to be renovated. So yeah, and we're starting to get people come in and be interested for booking in retreats and things. So if someone's got a retreat or a atelier they want to run, I'm up for having that chat as well. It's exciting to be able to turn the focus from the renovation to the business a bit more now. I'm quite looking forward to that.
And now that it's becoming a real offering that you're able to start to advertise and show people, that's going to be even that next level of excitement. Right?
Yeah, it'll be great. And when we get the actual, some photos done properly, that kind of thing, it will be amazing to be able to move to that part that I've been thinking about for so long.
First of all, it has been so wonderful to have you here. And I cannot wait because, I watch you and I listen and I read. I'm a fangirl.
Oh,
so
that's very sweet.
I know I'm going to be keeping an eye on you, but please, I want you to come back, because once this is ready to go, I want more and more people to hear all about it, because it's just exciting. And for anybody who is looking for Alethea's links and her newsletter, all of that is going to be in the show notes, so you can find them there and reach out. Alethea is happy to chat, especially if people are interested in retreats in the future. I know I am.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you again for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Noelle.
That's it for now. Until next time. Thanks for listening to the Journeys Through Change podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or really wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us and leave a review if you've enjoyed this episode. And share it with a friend or on social media to spread the good word, so more women like you can find us and join in on the fun. For more information on the podcast or Day by Day book, go to livedaybyday.com.